Hello YouTube, this is Matt Pullen, and it's time for another live Blitz game on chess.com. I feel like I haven't played a game of chess in a couple weeks, so I mean there's been a lot going on. So yeah, let's see how well I can do here, and if I can inch closer to 2,000, or am I going to lose my first live game on chess.com. There are a bunch of people on, so it shouldn't be a problem to get a game. Alright, so I'm playing against Boy Kulafu, and he's white, and c4, so in English I think I will respond with e5, and it's d3, and so how am I going to play against this? I think I will simply I'll play f5. Why not? Take advantage of the fact that he will have to lose a move to play d4. So he's hitting my e5 pawn. I could check on b4 and then play d6. I think I'll do that actually. By checking on b4 and then playing d6, I get my my bad bishop outside of the pawn chain. So with my dark square bishop gone, I just put my knight on f6 and I develop normally. Alright, so here, do I play c6 and try and play d5? Maybe I put my queen on e8 to guard my e-pawn first. Maybe I just play the pawn to a5 to slow down his queenside expansion. Sort of wait to see what will happen with the rest of the pieces. Alright, so he wants to play pawn to c5, try and undermine the e-pawn, and I think I'll play queen e8 to guard my e-pawn. Well, of course, then he could push anyway and recapture with rook. So maybe I want to put my knight on c6 to, so that if he pushes, I can push past. I like this idea. So I'm guarding the e5 pawn. So if he pushes to c5, I can push to d5. That's my concept here. Alright, he's pushed a3, so I will push a4, so that if he takes, I can take en passant. And h3, I'm not sure what that does, so I'll just move my king off of the diagonal. And here he plays d4. I can't really profit from taking this, so I'll push e4. Seems like the obvious move, and he's getting kind of cramped on space. Do I play d5 here? And then if cd, then knight e7. But he can play knight c4 and then bring his knight into e5. So maybe I want to play the bishop to d7 first, just to help me finish developing. So he's going to maybe play f3 and break up the pawns. He's playing faster, so I have to play fast. Queen e7. He's going to bring his knight to b4. I don't really care about that, I don't think. Knight e7 with the idea of c6 and d5. Alright, so bring my knight to g6 with the idea of going into to e5. I think maybe I want to play pawn to b6 to stop his this c5 advance, although that would give him the c6 square potentially. My f5 pawn is guarded right now. Alright, so he's going to come to knight c3 and hit the a5 pawn again. So I can play queen e8 to stop. Well, he's not really threatening because I have two pieces on it, so maybe I'll bring my rook to a5 with the idea of maybe coming rook c5. Or I'll have to play a rook queen a8, rook c5 maybe. I don't know. This idea looks kind of. So he's going to put a knight on b5 eventually to cut the communication between my bishop d8 and my pawn on a4. So I have to decide what I'm going to do in response to this. All right, so I have to take this, and so now he's going to try to, he's probably going to try to put this knight on d5 and then take advantage of the c7 square. So I can't play queen e7 right away. Maybe play c6 to stop him from, well, I don't know, c6 he takes on a4. I don't know, that was a good idea of his. So I'll play queen to e8. Because this guards the a4 pawn. And then also I'm possibly reclaiming this. So he is now threatening the c7 pawn, right? So I will guard it by moving my rook to c5. And now I am ready to take on e6 with queen. Is he going to push the pawn to e7? Then I'll just play rook f7. And then after trading knights, I can take the pawn on e7. So I think he may have gotten in a little over his head here. Because there's no way, with the pawn structure, there's no way for him to chase this rook from c5. I mean, he'd have to move his knight a bunch of times to attack, and I don't know how he attacks this rook on c5. And it's sort of blockading his, his whole position. His pawn on c4, he's got his bishop on e2, stuck behind his pawn on c4. His bishop on e2 is not really doing anything here. Maybe he wants to play like queen c2 bishop d, or queen d2 bishop d1. Use the bishop on d1 to attack the pawn on a4. Alright, so I already decided that I want to play rook f7 in response to this. Well, I probably could have played rook g8 as well. Because knight takes, pawn takes would open my... Okay, well, see, knight takes, he brings his queen into the game. Is this a bad thing? Knight takes, queen takes, knight takes knight, pawn takes, rook takes. Oh, he takes on c7. Can I just play pawn g6? That looks like a very simple answer to my problem. If he takes on f6, I take with rook. And if he just plays bishop back to e2, then I can't take on e7. I can take on d5, however. I can take on d5 and then take his pawn. What do I want to take with, though? Probably rook, I would guess. And if he takes the rook on c5, I want to take with the b pawn. So he still has this plan of going after the a4 pawn that I need to respect. But how do I stop him from ultimately winning the a4 pawn? I think I want to be taking with b pawn, because then if I take with d pawn, I give him the opportunity to push d6. So let's remove that recapture. Okay. So he's pinning my knight. I think, do I want to play queen a8? Queen a8 threatens queen takes on d5, so I anticipate he'll want to take the rook, so I'll take with the, or do I necessarily want to take with that pawn? I think if I take with d-pawn, then my e5 knight becomes a liability, because it will be pinned and only protected by the rook. So I think now it might be best to move my king off of the diagonal to so that the knight becomes unpinned. Of course, now I'm moving it onto the same diagonal as the d5 pawn, so it'll be more difficult for me to win, for me to ever think about taking the pawn on d5. Alright, so takes, and now I think b pawn takes with the idea of bringing my knight to d7 and to b6 to guard my a4 pawn. Alright. I'm down to a minute. I have to really go here. So if he brings queen to f6, I'm going to play queen f8. Play queen f8 anyway. Alright, so he's probably going to try and gang up on the b4 pawn. Ooh, that's a nice move. Alright. I will be... I didn't want to do this. So now he gets a passed a pawn. Takes on passant. This bishop is very well placed on... yeah, this is a bad position. Alright, so how do I not lose this? And queen to f6. The idea of... Alright, push there. Oh, this is just outright bad for me. Push there, and then maybe if he takes it, I get in queen a1, but no, of course not. He plays the correct move. He goes for like queen b8 here to pin my knight. And then it's probably just play queen b8 check, of course. And it looks like I've lost my first game on chess.com. It should be very easy for him to win this. And where's my resign button? Oh, there it is. Anyway, that was a live Blitz game, and have a good one, YouTube.